It's not fair. We hear in the gospel something that is really not rational. It doesn't make a lot of sense. After all, why would all the workers receive a full day's wage? Rationally, it's not a good model for doing business. In fact, it's rather absurd. The landowner only has one wage to hand out. But that's not fair. And so Jesus today challenges us, challenges our hearts and our minds, and reminds us that God says, "My thoughts are not your thoughts." So what are our thoughts? We have a tendency to define our personal worth in contrast to one another. We want the world ordered according to our standards, don't we? Work hard and get what you deserve. And for most of it begins when we are little with our toys, getting what we deserve. It ends up with resentment, envy, keeping up with the Joneses, watching to see who the glamorous people are on the red carpet, who makes it in our neighborhood and in our community. And we end up with a world with loads of debt, loads of resentment, loads of anger, and lots of depression and violence. The story of Cain and Abel is a similar idea of fairness and justice played out. And so the parable in the gospel today invites us out of our sense of fairness. God doesn't give us what we deserve. The worth and value by which we separate ourselves from others is absolutely reversed in God's eyes today. God's grace does not use our standard of fairness. God's justice is not a mathematical proportion. And the gospel says to us that we as Christians, as followers of Jesus, need to die to our old sense of fairness. Power, prestige, and position is the current world order. But in God's reign, in God's way of life, all orders of precedence are dissolved. It may be that the last will be first and the first will be last. There is no better. There is no last. There is no first among those whom God loves. Listen to that. There is no better. There is no last. There is no first among those whom God loves. God has only one gift to give us, namely God. God's spirit of self-giving love. It goes beyond any expectation based on a worldly order. And it's not fair. You have made them equal to us. It is that radical equality before God that is the end result of God's way. God only has God to give. And Jesus spent his whole life showing us, breaking down all kinds of barriers, all kinds of separations, all kinds of positions of power and prestige. And Jesus worked and gave his life striving for a time when you have made them all equal to us, becomes the mark of a faithful society. And so God is inviting us today. Just as he went out into the 9th hour, and the 6th hour, and the 5th hour, and at the noon hour, he is inviting us constantly to a new way of life, a whole new world. And what God asks us is only that we accept God's generosity. We accept God's generosity by showing that same generosity to one another. And sometimes it just does not seem fair. God bless you.